my lifeline to the world. I do appreciate that you're with me. It is the Plant-Based Business Hour, and I'm Elysabeth Alfano. I do this show every weekday at 1 p.m. right here live on Jane Unchained. You don't want to miss it. I have the powerhouses in the plant-based food world. Now, as we are out of jobs and stuck at home without each other, except by Zoom and Facebook, we know more than ever the importance of our safe food supply. And we don't have a safe food supply right now, as we see yet again a meat-borne pandemic. Right now, we're experiencing COVID-19, but it's not the first meat-borne pandemic. There's been Asian bird flu, which is still thriving in China, African swine fever, still thriving in China, mad cow disease. This is not the first time we've been here. We've gone around the circle. So I would like to see us get off this crazy circle and get to a safer food supply. But we can't do that without a safer food supply. So this show is highlighting the plant-based business news with the people who are making that news and giving us a safer future. So I can't think of a more ubiquitous food source than fast food, because that's what we all rely on. So, because we're all busy, we're running through and we do our best to be healthy, but let's face it, we like to get food on the fly and quick. So I want to bring in my guest today, co-CEO of Plant Power Fast Food, Jeffrey Harris. Thanks for being with me.
It's great to be here with you, Elizabeth, and hello, everybody.
So wonderful that you're here. First of all, let's give a shout out to your partners. You cannot do it alone. It does take a village. You, first of all, before you tell your partners and how great they are, I do want to say you are co-CEO, you are co-founder, you are also chief marketing executive and chief communications officer. You're kind of busy, but okay, you do have a team. Who are they?
I like having a lot of titles. It makes me look very important.
A lot of titles.
Idea. My partners are Mitch Wallace and Zach Boga, and they are some of the most ethical, compassionate, dedicated vegans and the most amazing restaurant operators I've ever known in my life. And so I do a lot of these interviews, but it's really important to give them the shout out, because really they're the guys that are making this happen day in and day out, hour by hour. So I'm really proud to be associated with my partners.
Well, it does take a village, as we know, because it's not just even you three out there doing it. It's all of us. And I tell everybody on this show every day, you are so incredibly powerful, because you think politicians are doing this and that. Politicians don't change a gosh darn thing. Things change historically because of consumers. The average citizen uses their voice and votes with their dollar, and they make a difference. So I really do encourage everyone to check out Plant Power Fast Food. I have been to your food trucks. Sometimes you come to Venice, which is so fun. But of course, you have many restaurants in California, and I've never seen such a diverse menu. So of course, you got the burgers, which is so fun. But you've got buffalo wings, and you've got chicken fillets, and you've got, here's my favorite, a kombucha float. So that's me.
Hello.
That's got me all over it. Milkshakes, chicken tenders. I mean, it's really super good. Tell me how you started with your partners, Plant Power Fast Food.
Great question. Each of the partners has their own story, and it's unique. But my own story is that about 12 or 13 years ago, I started asking myself some big questions about what I wanted to do with my life. And I had reached some level of success in the corporate world, but I've been a vegetarian for 43 years and a vegan for half of that. And this kind of crazy brainstorm kept coming to me: vegan fast food. And I kept trying to make it go away. And I would mention it to people, and they would say, dude, that is the dumbest idea we've ever heard about. Because, the world was different 12 and 13 years ago. So I went on a search for many, many years, because I knew that I didn't have the operational expertise to necessarily do that. I had the areas where I might be strong, but I knew that I needed a partner, didn't know I would get two in the bargain, that had the operational side. And so I went on a search for many years for this kind of needle in a haystack, somebody that knew how to do a fast food restaurant, who happened to be a vegan, who happened to have the same vision of kind of this worldwide vegan McDonald's, idea. And after years of searching, I found Mitch Wallace of Evolution Fast Food, fell in love with the guy. And then with him came Zach Boga, who had worked his way up through Mitch's organization. And then the three of us started planning our diabolical overthrow of the traditional fast food industry sometime in 2015. So they're just brilliant, amazing, loving guys.
Well, I will say shout out to them. And of course, they are welcome on this show anytime.
Awesome.
Oh, okay, so it stands to reason in a way that, if you wanted to reach the most people the fastest, to have the largest
Yes,
impact and make the greatest change, you would go for what people already know. The Good Food Institute likes to say plant-based items are going to succeed based on taste, convenience, and price. And fast food hits all of those right out of the park. But of course, these are not normal times. These are not normal days. How are you surviving in COVID-19? How have you had to reinvent yourself? And what tips, if you're willing to share them, would you give to
of
other
course.
vegan restaurants?
Of course. Well, we were overwhelmed and shocked just like anybody else. And we kind
Mm,
of saw things getting worse by the day. And, my previous life as a corporate guy, you just kind of hang home and you let the paycheck come in. But when you have hundreds of employees and hundreds of investors, you have to survive. So we were just a little bit ahead of the curve. By the weekend of like the 14th and 15th of March, we were starting to develop some contingency plans for what would
oh,
happen
good.
if we were
Yeah.
forced into a partial shutdown. And we met with our senior corporate staff and all of our team. And then on Monday morning, I think March 16th, we went into no in-store restaurant dining, and we were followed within hours by San Diego County, LA County, and
Yeah.
then maybe a day or two later, California. So we really have had to invent ourselves. So the first step was no in-restaurant dining, and that
Mm-hmm.
solved the issue of um, um, social isolation.
Mm.
Basically creating
Sure.
space between people. But then we realized that there were a host of other things that we needed to kind of address, and not only keeping the customers away from each other, keeping the customers away from our employees and our employees from the
Yes.
customers, and then in a tight kitchen environment, how do we protect our employees from each other? So over a period of weeks, we've implemented consistently more strategically. That's not right. Consistently more stringent procedures. So at this
Mm-hmm.
moment, for example, inside the restaurant, inside the kitchen, all of our employees are wearing masks and
Yeah.
also gloves. We have a timer that goes off every 30 minutes. Everyone stops what they're doing. They wash their hands, they disinfect their areas, they put on new gloves.
Mm-hmm.
We are crazy Nazi like in terms of just making sure that everything is clean in there. In terms of our customer relationships, some of our ways of interacting with people are very easy. We've got drive through. At some of our restaurants, we've got drive up where we bring it to your car. So, and where you're just kind of paying by credit card. We've stopped all cash transactions.
Mm-hmm.
But
Brilliant.
but in the rare situations at one of our restaurants where we actually have to touch the credit card, then we actually use a fresh pair of gloves for every single credit card transaction. So
So,
I should have invested in the glove company. That would have been the best possible move. So we're continuing to fine tune it. We're continuing to make sure that people feel comfortable. Um, who knew, by the way,
right.
that a crazy vegan hippie restaurant would be an essential service? I never dreamed.
Oh, I do love that. So I've got lots of questions for you coming out of that. First of all, I just want to make it very clear to everyone. So Plant Power Fast Food is still very much open.
Very much so.
Drive-throughs are very much open. When you see your neighborly friendly plant-based fast food, go and support, because
Thank
that's
you.
the best thing you can do to help vegan restaurants stay alive. Just put yourself in that drive-through with your own gloves, even, if you want to be extra careful. But we all heard it here first. Plant Power Fast Food is being extremely
Yeah,
over the top, stringent, and careful.
we really are.
So you still have to eat, folks. And a lot of us are going stir crazy. So hop in your car, all insulated and protected, head on over, drive right through to Plant Power Fast Food. That said, there are a couple things that surprised me. First of all, I want to congratulate you from a business standpoint, because when I was working in, Fortune 500 world, and I was working for the Kellogg company, we used to always talk about how much equity there was in being first. So cornflakes, what's to cornflakes? Corn, water, and salt. Really nothing much. But it was the first out there. And therefore, there's a lot of equity in that. And in times of trouble, companies, just like people, look to leaders. So that you were the first, or one of the first, to start putting in stringent safety programs, I think is really a credit to you. And I hope that you're able to
Thank you.
communicate that as a marketing guy, to let your folks know, like, you guys put safety first well before even state of California put it together. So I think there's a lot of equity in that for you. So I'm
Thank you.
happy to share that news. But I'm a little surprised when you say, like, we saw it coming and we still have employees, that I understand, and we still have investors. But don't the investors sort of know we're all on hold, or are they still giving you
Sure.
pressure to do
Sure.
things?
Actually, our investors have been extraordinary. I've been reaching out to quite a few of them and talking to them about what we envision may unfold in coming months. From a business point of view, strategically, we're certainly going into cash conservation mode. So we're being very careful. We're looking at everything that we need to do. The good news is that we're strong. So our top line average per unit revenue was kind of up there with McDonald's, very, very high for a fast food restaurant. So
Sure. I see what you're saying.
in the US, our average top line sales are very good. So we came from a position of great strength. Obviously, we've seen a serious reduction in sales. We are beginning to communicate with our investor group. And I'm not worried about, and our investors are our family. So no one's worried about, hey, there's no, investor return this month or next quarter. It's not that. For the sake of our employees, our investors, and also our other stakeholders, this is the magical
Yes.
part.
Yes.
The customers, the animals, the reason we're
Yes.
doing this, the planet. There's
Mhm.
this series of stakeholders in here. And so it's not about, are we making tons of money? That's not about it. It's about, can we survive this? And will our mission move forward? I had social media is great because people register their opinions all the time. And I had a
Yeah.
woman reach out and said, you guys should shut down. It's not about the money. And I said, yeah, it's actually not about the money,
Right.
but it is about surviving so that we can bring this mission to the world for the sake of our animal friends and the planet and consumers who are looking for new choices.
I love that you say that you have many stakeholders here. You have the investors, you have the employees, you have the consumers, you have the planet, and you have the animals.
Yeah.
And I love that you figure that into your business philosophy. I was going to ask this question later on, but maybe this is a good time to get to that. When and how did you go vegan? It seems to be a big part of your message above and beyond the dollars.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, again, I was talking to Lisa Faria yesterday of Stray Dog Capital, and she was saying, oh, there's crazy, stupid money out there for venture capitalists because a lot of people are getting into it, not even knowing what a plant-based burger is. Obviously, that's not you. You know what it is. So I'm curious, how and when did you go vegan? When was that moment that you knew I'm never going to do anything
Everybody
else?
has their vegan story. So my vegan story starts with the vegetarian story because we had never heard of vegans back then. So 1974.
74 people
74.
register that.
Yeah. I'm only 20, but it was
Yes.
my last lifetime.
Yes, right. Me too.
I had been thinking, there's a moment sometimes when a young person kind of has that revelation that meat you buy in the market was actually an animal. And then for
Right.
some of us, there's that realization that animal was actually a being, a
Yeah.
soul, someone who experiences happiness, joy, and fear just like you do, or your dogs or cats.
Mhm.
And I've been becoming increasingly troubled by that as a young man. And
Mhm.
I was 14, and I was having dinner with my family, and I said, "Well, we're having veal," and I said, "Well, what is veal?"
Mhm.
And my mother said, "Well, veal is a baby cow," and that was kind of
Mhm.
the switch. I literally put my fork down. My sweet Jewish mama said, "Well, I'm not going to cook for you," but she saw it in me at that moment. And other than grandma's tuna sandwiches, which survived about another 6 months until I saw a fish on the pier, I went vegetarian. I was the first one that I knew. Nobody mentioned that there was an Indian subcontinent with a few 100 million of them. And then about oh my God, probably 95 or 96, I realized that my conception of
Mhm.
eggs and dairy as being nonviolent was incorrect. Like a lot of vegetarians, I felt, well, you don't kill the cow for the milk and you don't kill the chickens for the eggs, but that's actually not true at all. And I got it, and I made the full change. And on every level of my life, physically, but most important, maybe for me spiritually, it's the most important decision that I've ever made.
I love that you say this, and I most definitely feel the same myself. When I went vegan, so I thought I'd shed a little bit of weight, and did, which was great. I figured I'd get a boost in energy. I already have a lot of energy, but I did. I got an extra boost of energy. What I didn't realize is that a huge weight would be lifted off of me. I had no idea or understanding how long I'd been carrying this heavy weight of having to do something in life that didn't align with
Mm,
my personal values and how
exactly.
much that was pulling me back. And for the longest time, decades really, I knew about factory farming. I had seen it, but I just wrote it off and said, I guess we have to do this. Nobody likes it, but it's what
Right.
we have to do. And that having to be inconsistent with my personal values and go against them, even though I wanted to be a good person, and how was I going to align that? When I lifted that so I could really have my values be in line with my purchasing dollars, I was set free. It was like a balloon untethered. I
Well,
was set free.
it's funny. You don't know how liberating it is until it
Yes.
happens. And
Yes.
and if I may say, that's really the secret mission behind Plant Power. I love all my activist friends who get out there and do what they do. It's important. And I've done some activism myself, but I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, I actually became vegan because of plant power. And as you know, we're not a preachy brand. You're not walking
Yeah.
into Plant Power and seeing any pizza brochures or gory images of cows hanging upside down. We're
Right.
actually just serving plant-based food with love, and it kind of opens the door for people to walk down the path of their own journey. And
Hmm.
and that's actually why we did this. I mean, we didn't know how difficult this would be, but really the original intention, the main intention, probably before any of us knew the impact of animal agriculture on the environment as much,
Right.
or before we knew as much as we do about the healing power of plant-based food. The idea was to open the door for people to lead a cruelty-free life, beginning with the cruelty-free diet. And then the secret backstory is you and I know, and people in this movement know, that when you start to understand the power of doing no harm, or as we call
Hmm.
it in yoga, ahimsa, right?
Hmm.
It changes your relationship with the world and with all beings in the world.
It really does. And it allows you to be your full, impactful self,
That's
because it's
exactly it.
very hard to be your strong, impactful self when you are working against yourself all the time with
Yeah.
something that doesn't align with your values. Very hard to move forward in that way. I want to, because all of this spiritual philosophy, which we all agree with, I think on this channel and certainly on this show, what I love is that it aligns with your business principles too. So,
Yes.
because I do believe that we change the world with business. I really fully
Yeah.
do believe that. It's the most impactful, far-reaching, getting food through fast food to people around the country, which I know you're expanding. We're going to talk about that. Is really, a way to bring it home to people, to make it
Yeah.
easy, to make it accessible, convenient, taste good, price efficient, price effective. So I want to kind of bring it back to your website, plantpowerfastfood.com. There's a whole tab. If you go to the environment, you've got some wonderful statistics there. Maybe just give us some of the general ones about how much we're saving on land and on water, making this a better business equation, but making this a better personal equation as well when we go with Plant Power Fast Food.
It's funny. My partner Zach and I put all that stuff together, and now I'm forgetting some of the statistics. But what I can't, I'm embarrassed.
No,
Supposed
no,
to be the big
I've got
vegan
them for you.
entrepreneur. I
It's
know.
okay.
I'll let you go. But
Okay.
what has become increasingly apparent is that from an environmental point of view, that the animal agriculture model is just not sustainable. Now, a lot of ethically based vegans, they don't care, but hey, we're vegan anyway. But the truth is, there are a lot of people who can be persuaded to explore a plant-based diet because they understand things from an environmental point of view. And we know how much more water it takes and how much more grain it takes and how much more energy it takes and carbon to create a quarter pound beef patty versus a quarter pound patty that's out of GMO free soy or pea protein or some other thing. So it's a massive environmental issue, but you've got the stats. So I'm going to let you go
I do
at it.
have some of the stats. I first want to answer Tom Vincel. I am going to post it as soon as I can. But Tom, in the notes above this video, you can see Plant Power Fast Food. So yeah, I'm going to take the statistics from an independent study out of the University of Michigan. It was done with the Beyond Meat burger, but generally it speaks to all plant-based burgers, and that's just a landing off point for all plant-based food. So a plant-based burger is going to be 99% less water. It's going to use
Wow.
99% less water, 93% less land, 90% less greenhouse gas emissions, and 40% less energy. From your site, plantpowerfastfood.com, I saw that it takes approximately about
That's right.
2,500 gallons. I think it's not liters. I think it's gallons of water to make a hamburger. And let's run through that for people. So why would it take 2,500 gallons of water to make a hamburger? Well, first you have to cut down all of the trees, and then you have to plant all of the soy and corn and wheat, and you have to water that and water that and water that. Then you have this corn, soy, and wheat. Do you feed these
Right.
high fiber, protein filled things to people? No, you feed them to animals who now need more land and more water and time. And we don't even give them their actual true animal
Oh yeah,
time. We
that's
stuff
for
them with
sure.
antibiotics and
Yeah.
hormones. And so we're giving them all this water, all this land. And then do we even, and of course we all wish we didn't do this, but when one does go to eat them, are we even using all that they have suffered for. No, we're not using the
Mm,
tail, the hooves, the eyes, the
yeah,
blood, the bones.
yeah,
Extremely inefficient from a resources standpoint, from a
yeah.
business standpoint, and from a human standpoint,
Of course.
and from a famine standpoint. If you really wanted to feed
Yeah.
everyone in the world, you would give them the grains that you grow. You wouldn't give them to animals and then
We
wait for a long time. And yeah,
we
yeah,
can't, and the population explosion of this planet requires the planet ultimately to move to a plant-based diet, and that's why turning people on to plant-based diet in a way that they understand is so important for all of us right now.
yes, absolutely right. So as we go from 7 billion people on the planet to
Yeah,
over 10, almost 11 billion, you're not getting more land and you're not getting more water. So you do
that's
the
for
math.
sure.
That's not going to work out. So here we talk about changing the world by going plant-based, and you've done such an awesome job by bringing
Thank
us
you.
plant power fast
That's
power no, plant power fast food. But some other people might be thinking, gosh, I should start a restaurant myself. I don't know if you would share with us a couple tips that you have for people wanting to start their own vegan restaurant or even
yes.
a food truck.
Absolutely. Well, the one thing is to be clear about your vision. So it kind of
Mm,
starts with intention. And when I was leading, just when I was before Plant Power, I had heard about follow your bliss and align yourself with your intention. But a lot of, and I love, doing what I did in the corporate world and do. But but I didn't understand the power of understanding what your vision is,
mhm,
cultivating the intention, and then making the first step. So first of all, remember why you're doing it. There's nothing wrong with making money and getting yourself a great job. But if you can find a deeper mission that can motivate you, that you can begin to coalesce around, that creates magic that's kind of hard to describe. Things magically fall together. When you're in love, I know I'm getting cosmic now, I apologize. When you're in intention
we love
and love,
cosmic.
I know. When you're in the right intentions and when you're in love and not in fear, a lot of doors will magically open. When you're in fear and scarcity mode, a lot of doors will close. So the first thing is
Mhm.
intention. The second thing I have to share from my own experience. So I had this huge, massive vision of kind of a new McDonald's taking over the world.
I love
Well,
that.
who the heck am I? Do I know how to do this? No,
Mm,
I don't. Do I know how to do the first step? I need help. So in my case, I went on to look for partners who shared my vision and who could fill in pieces of the puzzle that I don't have. So when I speak to vegan entrepreneurs, I talk a lot about the model of the movie producer. So a movie producer is not necessarily the director and the cinematographer or the lead actor or the costume people, location scout. That producer is going to find people that can fill those roles. And so the first thing that I would say to any vegan entrepreneur is understand your own strengths,
mhm,
focus on that, and then ask yourself, what do you need or who do you need on your team, either as a partner or possibly as an advisor, who can fill out the areas where you do not have those strengths. You do not need to make the whole movie by yourself. What you need to do is articulate the vision for that movie and then bring people onto your team, either directly as equity holders in your company or possibly advisors. But you need to sell that vision and bring people in who have the skills that you don't have. And then the last thing I would say is tenacity. You
oh,
know, tenacity. I had a friend of mine say how tenacious me and my partners were, and I'm like, that's true. I mean, we actually eat, live, sleep, and breathe plant power all the time, and it's not that it's a burden. I mean, there's certain days I'm sure we all want a day off and want to take a nap, but it's actually a joy. We're bringing something to the world that we believe in with all of our hearts, and so it really does kind of create wind in your wings. But on those days that you don't have the energy, um, you got to keep going. So tenacity, dedication, but knowing the vision first and communicating that to others is really the most important part. And then later down the road, somehow or another, raise money. But that's a whole another challenging story.
I do agree with you. I really do think it's not the prettiest or the smartest or even the best connected, although that certainly helps. It's those who are willing to work the hardest
Yeah,
and those who can make their money last the longest.
yeah,
Ooh.
big time.
Yeah, big time. Okay, so in these COVID times, is there a best selling item? And is it different from usual?
We're kind of seeing the same basic product mix. I haven't looked in the last few days, but I usually look at our sales reporting every day at around 3 in the morning. I wake
Oh,
up and see how we did the day before. That's because I'm a fanatic, right? Or sometimes at 6 when I wake up. But lately, my partners and I have been monitoring sales on an almost hourly basis just so we can
wow.
kind of see what's happening. And because we're using, or at least I'm looking at more sophisticated reports than I was able to see before, what I'm seeing, which is interesting, is a huge amount of repeat and loyal customers. And we're able to see
Oh,
that through credit card data. So I hadn't been looking at that. I've been focused on so many other things. And what I'm seeing is within a 90-day period, typically we see repeat customers of 45 to 55%. So what we're seeing is a tremendous amount of loyalty, a tremendous amount of gratitude on the part of customers who are grateful to have access to some fun plant-based food.
yeah, it's fantastic that you feel that you've got that really loyal base
Yeah,
that isn't leaving you. In fact, they're doubling down because,
yeah.
we've been seeing so much on social media of people cooking, but not everybody cooks. Not everybody wants to do that. So it's great to have you there. And I'm so happy that you remained open, that you
Thank
have
you.
the tenacity, as you
Thank
say,
you.
to remain open. So before COVID struck, there was a lot of scuttlebutt in the press about plant-based options aren't healthier for you and that people should feel, I don't think they actually feel this way, but the press was telling them they should feel that they'd been duped into thinking plant-based options were healthy. So walk me through the health benefits of plant-based, even in the fast food realm to walk
Great.
me through that comparison.
And I wonder where all those studies and those advertisements come from. I'm
And who
just
pays for
curious.
them? Yes, who
Yeah,
funds
exactly.
those?
Actually, I had a friend of mine recently do
Yeah.
some research and found out that this article that came out in a publication was actually funded by lobbyists, but we understand how that works. It's a great question. So I want to kind of approach it on two levels. First of all, I want to talk about plant power second, but first I want to talk about healthy food. So, the kind of vegetarian products that I found in 1974 and in the late 70s and early 80s when I became a vegetarian, one could argue that those products were not super healthy. If you were looking at the ingredients lists on those products, you had to have a magnifying glass and a dictionary, and there was no weapons grade plutonium, but it wouldn't have surprised me if it was in there. So the,
Yes.
the the first response to kind of the movement towards vegetarianism early on, it was just about making a meat analog that looked and tasted like meat, and most of the time back then it wasn't vegan. So I understand that there's stuff that's kind of junky. However, the natural food industry has evolved tremendously, and most manufacturers are using less ingredients. They're using purer ingredients. People like Beyond Meat, for example, are using GMO-free only. You're starting to see the artificial dyes, the artificial colorings, the artificial flavorings. That stuff is really going away, disappearing from the shelves of the modern day natural food products, which is a phenomenal evolution. And I actually I don't do this often because I try to be kind of gluten free, but I had some vegan bacon this morning and it was awesome and very clean. So first of all, there's a lot of propaganda out there. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Secondly, the science is
Mhm.
huge
Undeniable.
with regard to the difference between, as an example, cooked meat, which is a carcinogen on par with cigarettes, versus plant-based food. So the moment you just move into the idea of the health aspect of animal products, meat, dairy, eggs, versus plant-based food, the science is massive. I mean, I'm not going to quote all the studies here. The China study is a great one because it
Sure.
was massive. But let's talk about plant power for a moment. So, we very decidedly did not create Jeff's Veggie Hut, which would be that would be a bowl of brown rice and some sauteed tofu and some steamed broccoli and some tahini sauce. My partner Zach says tahini sauce is your jazz, right? That's your thing. I mean, it would be just like, and I often eat like that, right? But Plant Power was specifically designed to go out there and meet people where they were. And so one could argue that a organic salad with garbanzo beans and a mix of vegetables is healthier for you than the Plant Power bacon cheeseburger. And the truth is, that's correct. That salad is better for you. And we have salads. We have all sorts of cool salads. We even have a raw item and we have fresh juices. But if you go and you take I'll just use our bacon cheeseburger or our Big Zac as examples. If you take our kind of like pizzazzy menu items that everybody loves, and you compare them to a meat-based product, well, we're up there in the calorie zone, right? This is what we're offering. We're offering a taste experience, and there are some calories there. This is not a Big Zac's not necessarily a diet food. But then if you take a step down and you look more deeply and you look at the fact that we're using non-GMO ingredients, no artificial ingredients that are known to cause cancer, and you take a look at the real and fake products that are meat products, and then you look at the real health impact of a vegan bacon cheeseburger versus a real bacon cheeseburger, you can't even compare. We're 1,000 times healthier. But we do like to use the word healthier fast food because if you eat on the cheeseburger, fried chicken tenders part of the spectrum, that's fine, 2-3 days a week. But you also want to, as a person concerned with health, you definitely want to move as often as you can to the salad part of things. And it's also worth noting that we make all of our own sauces. There's nothing in terms of artificial ingredients. We have gluten-free options. So it's worlds apart. And for people who do make that kind of false comparison, no disrespect to them, they're not looking at the hard science, the impact of cholesterol on your body, the carcinogenic impact of cooked meat products, and we can go on and on. Not even to mention the fact that plant-based foods, processed or unprocessed, are not tied to the emergence of the kind of diseases that we see coming from animal products. So I don't buy it, but I understand that there's also a spectrum at Plant Power that is designed to accommodate everyone's needs. We've got the Big Zac, we've got the chicken tenders, but we've got the salads, we've got raw items and fresh juices. We're inviting people to come, and we're trying to meet them where they are.
Well, we started this show on kombucha float.
I
So
was going to
that kind of
comment on
says it
that.
all.
Kind of like healthy. I
Yes,
think
right.
so.
That's
That's
right.
kombucha.
I just spreading out my odds here.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to go back to some of what you said, and I want to back it up with the stats that I have, and if not, I can send you to other places. So, processed meat, bacon, bologna, sausages, these are class 1 carcinogens according to the World Health Organization. They are in the same class as cigarettes. They have the same risk of cancer. I get this from Dr. Greger. I encourage you to just go Google it. Dr. Greger, he does a beautiful 3-minute video on this. They have the same risk of cancer as secondhand smoke. So it's not the same risk as actually smoking a pack of cigarettes, but it is the same risk, 15 to 17%, 15 to 16% of increased cancer risk with only one piece of processed meat a day would be like being exposed to secondhand smoke. But then we also talk about, first of all, no one said that Plant Power fast food was a carrot. No one actually thinks it's a carrot. No one mistook it for a head of lettuce. No one looked at your Zac burger and said, gosh, I really think this is a red pepper. What do you think? So you're not portraying yourself as broccoli. You are a food item through fast food, and you are on the fryer, and but it isn't lettuce, but it is healthier than meat for the reasons that you say,
and it's a
cholesterol.
bridge. It's a bridge. In other words, if we want to meet millions of people where they are, as I mentioned, they're not going to Jeff's vegan hippie shack. And for those that do, maybe I
that
should
would
start
be fun, though.
Jeff's vegan hippie shack, right? But with Anya playing in the background and little rainbows. But so it's really about meeting people where they are and building a bridge, and then allowing people to evolve. And then the menu itself provides a place for that dietary evolution as well, through salads and raw items. So it's
right.
beautifully said. Yeah.
Yes. And then, of course, you're not adding antibiotics. You're not adding hormones. Right. So you do have some fat. You do have calories. You probably do have some salt in there, but you don't have cholesterol. And then you don't have the damage to the environment as well.
Yeah.
So, it's on the scale of things. It's not a carrot, but it's healthier. So I think we can put that conversation to rest officially. Well, since you're in the thick of it, sir, tell me, what are your predictions? Where are we going from here?
Well, do you mean with our current zombie apocalypse, or do you mean plant-based food in general?
Both, please.
Well, the apocalypse, I like to use that term because I'm injecting a bit of humor. And first of all, I want to say to everyone who's on here, on behalf of the Plant Power partners and the team, we're just sending love to everybody. It is a challenging time. For those of us like myself who are sheltering at home as much as possible, not crazy difficult, but if you have had people you love or family members or friends affected, we're so sorry, and we're sending our love to you all. It's really important right now that we love each other, and that we bring that to bear. So I want to say, stay safe, everybody, and be careful. The truth is, in terms of what's going to be unfolding in the next few weeks or next month or 2 or 3, we really don't know. I think that we all have been more affected than we ever imagined was possible. And of course, I feel especially for people who have lost their jobs, and we're
Yes.
hoping that the federal relief will help us all. The truth is, I'm not an expert. I watch some news at the end of the day to get my fix and see what's going on. But we are hoping and praying that things change the next 60 or 90 or 120 days. In terms of the plant-based world, I have a little bit more experience with that, and I see the revolution unfolding. And we like to say internally in our team, plant power. It's not a restaurant. It's the
Love it.
revolution.
Oh,
Um,
got that
and
right.
and I had an experience recently, and I may have kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I did want to mention it. I was in, I think, Mendocino Farms with my partner Zach, and he had his Plant Power hat on with a little leaf logo. And the guys behind the counter started freaking out. They realized that we were associated with Plant Power. They're big Plant Power fans, and
I see.
they were like 25-year-old kids, and they were just wonderful
Oh,
kids. But one of them later told me, "This is the reason that I became a vegan."
oh,
And now it's not that Plant Power is so amazing and life changing that Plant Power made one person become vegan, but what this person was exposed to was plant based, cruelty free, and environmentally sustainable food in a way that he could understand. So the big picture is the world has changed. I have friends who are
yes.
vegetarian that go, "Yeah, but I really need to eat cheese." And I'm like, "Hello, have you been to Whole Foods in the last 10 years?
Right.
Wake up." And I have friends of mine that I've known from the corporate world who are the farthest thing you can imagine from the kind of vegan yogi hippie like myself. And they're asking me questions now. And so, and the funny thing about people moving towards a plant based diet, because sorry for the noises if you're hearing my Facebook posts, um, is that a lot of people actually don't want to be culturally a vegan. They don't want to wear a meat is murder t shirt. They don't want to come out as a vegan at Thanksgiving with their family, right? However, given the choice, they're moving in that direction. 75 or 80% of our customers are not vegans or vegetarians, at least not publicly, but they are making different choices. So the interesting thing is there's the out loud vegans like ourselves, and maybe 20% of our customers. Exactly. Hello. But the truth is, there's a silent, quiet group of people that in the restaurant industry we've identified as flexitarians. They are omnivores who are making new choices. And even if they won't admit to their friends, like they're macho dudes at the gym, that they care about the animals, they might give voice to their concerns about the environment or definitely their health. So there's a large underground wave that's happening. And, my partners and I were not surprised when we've all saw this plant-based explosion over the last few years. I think the public offering of Beyond Meat was the first huge sign of things to come, even though there have been a variety of different things that happened before that. But we've been watching the lava kind of move to the top of that volcano for 20 years. So it wasn't a surprise to us when the world changed in that respect. And I think that we're going to see more of the same. My hope is, as tragic and difficult as this virus has been for all of us, my hope is that it also opens some doorway, some inquiry, some curiosity about not only where the virus came from, but how do we maintain health. If we are going through our own suffering, maybe we should concern ourselves with the suffering of others, both our animal and human friends. And so I hope that it's a moment of opportunity, and if anything good comes from it, with all respect to people that are suffering, I hope that we're beginning to open our eyes to our connectivity to each other as humans and to the animal kingdom, and that we start to really allow our intuition to guide us to a cruelty-free and healthier lifestyle.
I love that you say this because as we were talking previously about the health impacts of the meat and dairy industry, there's also the mental health impacts. And when your
Yeah,
diet isn't good for you. So physically, you just don't feel that great. Really
yeah,
hard to be at the top of your game. And then when you're also carrying that extra baggage of, as we said before, not doing something that aligns with your own personal values, or
yeah.
even worse, taking in all that anger, all that grief, all
Mm,
that cruelty,
yeah,
really hard to be your best self. So as we move forward to a world where we want to see ourselves get out of pandemics, you
yeah,
really got to start thinking about the safety and the health healthy aspect of your food supply.
Yeah.
And as we can see with pandemics, and this isn't the first one, as we talked about before, Asian bird flu, African swine fever, mad cow disease, Ebola, these are all meat-borne pandemics, and we don't want to be back here in a month. It's very bad for us financially. It's bad for us mentally, as we're all panicked and feared, and it's bad for us physically. So much to talk about. Let me ask you the next question that I have on for you, which is, you've been in this for a while. What do you wish you knew 10 years ago that you know now?
Wow, that's a great question. I could tell you. I wish I knew that this is going to sound so corny, but I can't help it. I wish I knew that dreams can come true. And what I mean, that is like, I wish I'd cue the unicorns and the rainbows. Yay! No, but I think that we live in a world. So many people I know, right, are artists, musicians, and actors, and they want to be a rock star one day or a famous actor. And it's hard to manifest your dreams in this world. We're so busy surviving and paying the rent or the mortgage, and it's really, we don't live in a world that makes it easy for most people to envision a dream and then manifest it. But I think that if I can go back 10 years, I would tell myself, dude, because I would call myself dude, have faith. Have faith that if you are tenacious and that you have a vision and that if there's love behind it, and if you can get the right people, you can make it happen. I think back to when we were building our first restaurant in San Diego. And I was very fortunate to find Mitch Wallace and Zach Boga. I'm going to keep saying their names out loud in case they're watching later. Yeah. Hey, guys. But I remember when we were building our first restaurant, and it was we had gotten a lease on a ground up 2-story restaurant, and it was dirt, and then it was the dirt in a frame, and then it was like rocks and concrete, and I kept asking myself, is this really happening? After kind of dreaming about this for so many years. And then on that first day, the doors opened, and for the first 45 minutes, nobody came in, and I thought, this isn't happening.
Panic.
And then people started coming in, and we go on from there. But the one thing I would say is everything's possible. And by the way, that doesn't mean that everything that we want to have happen will happen. But what I have learned is it's way more fun to give it your very, very best shot. You'll learn and you'll grow through the experience. I guess what I've learned is, fear plays in the hearts of all, certainly in my heart. I had fear and anxiety like anybody. Don't listen to it. It's going to do its dance, say hello. Hi, fear. What's going on? Move on. I got things to do, and proceed with faith.
I think this is one of the benefits of age, actually. There aren't a whole heck of a lot of benefits of age, but one of them is that you can stare down fear. You've just been through it so many times. You can stare at fear in the eyes and say, like, I got this. I've been through it before. You don't have nothing on me. So I love what you say about dreams can come true. Miyoko Shiner, we all know her and love her, Miyoko's Creamery. She was on the show a couple days ago. And even Miyoko said she wished she knew 10 years ago that dreams could actually come true, just like you were saying, because she said, not those exact words, but she just said she wished 10 years ago that she realized that she really could make the difference that she's actually making today. So what that means is, everybody listening, if you start today, in 10 years from now, you'll be saying, wow, I actually did make the impact I had dreamed I could make. And truly, if you're not going to live your life with the passion that you have, what's the point? Everything's like lifting heavy furniture if you can't get behind what you love. So shout out to everybody who's looking for a little bit of motivation.
In addition to impacting the world, Miyoko had a very positive impact on my gluten-free toast this morning as well. So thank you, Miyoko, if you're watching.
Yeah,
some kind of groovy vegan ranch spread that was just, I don't know, amazing.
Off the charts. Off the charts. Yes.
Thank you.
So kind of related to this, I like to ask people, what is a phrase that you live by? So let's say you've been having a bad day, and many people have been having lots of bad days recently. Is there a phrase that you say to yourself to bring yourself back into the moment and get your spirits back up?
Yeah, I don't know if that it's a phrase, but I think that what I keep thinking is share love, like love everyone. I'm not kidding. In other words, when I am in my own anxiety or in my own pain, I realize that other people are as well. If I'm afraid, if I'm feeling uneasy, I look around my world and go, wow, other people are probably feeling that also. So one of the ways that I pull my head out of my beep is to just remember that other people like myself, are humans and struggling with some aspect of this humanness. And I really try to remember to, rather than focus on myself all the time. I have a big ego. I'm always focused on myself. But if I can get out of that and look around me and see who needs love, who needs a phone call, who needs some encouragement, who needs to hear, thank you, that was really amazing. And when I move out of my own smallness, and move into that, that's what seems to change my life. Like when my life goes through those transitions from darkness to light each day or each week or each month, it's because I'm moving into trying to be kind. As a matter of fact, now this is going to sound like an advertisement. I apologize, but we are, our employees are not working with tips anymore because our whole business model has changed.
Sure, and so no cash.
We're doing a lot to try to help them out, and so we've launched a new T-shirt that you can buy on our merch on plantpowerfastfood.com, and then our new kind of stuff. One of our logos is our trademarks is the future of fast food. So we're sending people, this is what the future of fast food looks like. But ever since this epidemic, we have kind of a new trademark, which is love yourself. Excuse me, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And we've actually put it on a T-shirt. And so I think in times of difficulty, which we all go through, that's kind of the vibe or the mantra that keeps me going.
I love this. So everybody has their marching orders. You're going to go to plantpowerfastfood.com. You're going to look at the menu. You're going to drive through the drive-through, and you're going to get yourself a T-shirt because that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom from the co-founder of Plant Power Fast Food, Jeffrey Harris. Okay, I want to thank everybody who's joined us here. Philippa Kingsley, Paige Parsons Roach, Laura Russell. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Tom Vincel. I did see some people earlier on. You guys just strolling through. You guys, thanks for being here. Miriam, I see you there, Miriam Shiro. Anyways, you guys, thanks for joining in. I really do appreciate it. We do have an exit question, or I have an exit question for you, Jeff. So we were talking about kombucha float. I'm all about it. Paige Parsons Roach is saying she loves your milkshakes.
We'll get to one.
You were talking about the Zach burger and how everybody has kind of doubled the big Zach. Thank you. Everyone's kind of doubled down. Your customers have doubled down on their consistency with you and how they've just been coming back for more, which is great. When you have to have a snack and it's not Jeffrey's Healthy Hut, but it's actually like junk food, what's your go-to junk food?
Oh my God, that's excellent. Well, I'm trying to stay away from bread. When I go off the rails, vegans gone crazy. It's just like a piece of sourdough toast with some, soy margarine. But my kind of, I know it's crazy. It's like I don't go that far off the rails, but bread, that's kind of it. But my crazy snack is kind of usually some gluten-free tortilla, and I just throw a bunch of junk in it, like lettuce and avocado and some vegan cheese, and then I roll it up and I go. So it's not that and then
perhaps we need to discuss what I mean by junk food. Let's start this again. Junk food would not include lettuce.
Well, then let's say a bag of vegan bagels and vegan cream cheese.
Okay.
That would probably
now you're talking.
Yeah, kind of like that. I try not to let that happen, but it can happen.
Okay. We did say, I want to preface that, I did say junk food. So I don't want to hear from somebody later saying, you see, vegans, they're not healthy. We did say this was our chance to go for junk food. I will tell you, here is a little tip for everybody. This is my junk food thing gone healthy. Thank you, Dr. Greger. So I used to do popcorn and extra virgin olive oil. And then, and I was thinking I was kind of good. And then Dr. Greger was like, no. So I was like, okay, right. Sorry. I'll air pop my popcorn. So then I got my air popper and I air popped my popcorn, but I still put extra virgin olive oil, just sprayed it a little bit on top. So I just recently interviewed Dr. Greger again. I got the band back together. We got back together. Go listen to that interview, everybody. ElysabethAlfano.com. Click on Awesome Vegans. So we were back together again. And I told him I had made this advancement. And he was like, no, you can't spray extra virgin olive oil on top. Spray Bragg's. Not natural to think of, right? Spray Bragg's on top. Beautiful. And nooch. So now I've gotten rid of the oil altogether. I no longer consider this a junk food. My favorite snack is now my favorite health food. Air popped popcorn with Bragg's and a little bit of nooch.
Wait, I have to add one thing because for years my favorite thing was popcorn, like some olive oil or soy margarine and nutritional brewer's yeast.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
And so good for you. So absolutely good for you. co-CEO and co-founder of Plant Power Fast Food, Jeffrey Harris. I want to thank you for being on the Plant-Based Business Hour with me. I so appreciate everything you do. Thank you for staying open. Thank you for having your drive-through and for being so vigilant about stringent and gloves and health and for getting people food for your investors, for your consumers, for the animals, for the planet, for all of us, for the animals. I want to thank you for all you do. PlantPowerFastFood.com, everybody, and hit up a drive-through. Together, we are taking back our health and the health of the planet. I hope you'll be back.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.